Welcome to this explainer on PES membrane filter cartridges. You know, if you're managing critical fluids, you already know the right filter is never just a minor detail. It is literally the difference between a pure, perfect product and a ruined, incredibly costly batch. So, we're going to extract the absolute essential engineering data from Poor Filtration's guide to help you completely optimize your industrial liquid processing. Let's just quickly run through our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at understanding PES membrane filters, their key engineering advantages, critical B2B industry applications, the vital role of pre-filtration, comparing membrane materials, and finally, those absolutely essential selection criteria.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, Understanding PES Membrane Filters.
So, what's under the hood? A PES membrane filter relies on polyethersulfone. Now, the magic words you really need to remember here are naturally hydrophilic. Think of it kind of like a microscopic sponge that is just always eager to absorb. It readily wets out with just plain water. There is zero need to introduce alcohol or any other chemical wetting agents before you use it. This makes it just exceptionally well suited for processing aqueous solutions, pulling out fine particles and microorganisms right out of the gate.
Now, if you're wondering about the difference between membrane and depth technologies, it really all boils down to one word: precision. See, unlike depth filters, which kind of randomly trap larger contaminants deep within these thick, maze-like layers of media, PES membranes act as a highly precise, surface-level gatekeeper. Because they use a carefully engineered structural membrane, you get incredibly consistent, totally reliable microorganism retention every single time. No guesswork.
Moving right along to Section 2, Key Engineering Advantages.
What's actually amazing about these features is how they actively save your facility both time and money. The structure gives you high flow rates, but with incredibly low pressure drops. That means you're speeding up process time and getting much longer production runs. And because PSE has naturally low protein binding, you aren't losing your super expensive biological yields to the filter itself, which, let's be real, is a massive relief. Combine all of that with the zero alcohol pre-wetting for super fast startups, plus reliable, sterilizing grade microorganism retention, you've basically got the ultimate efficient filtration solution.
All right, let's look at Section 3, Critical B2B Industry Applications. Where are these actually being used?
In the pharmaceutical sector, as we all know, precision is absolutely non-negotiable. That low protein binding and sterilizing grade retention, that's exactly what makes PES the go-to membrane material here. We're talking about processing critical high-stakes fluids, purified water, water for injection, complex buffer solutions, biological products, even sterile eye care solutions. When your margin for error is literally zero, this is the technology you rely on.
Now, over in the food and beverage industry, PES filters are kind of the silent heroes preserving a brand's entire reputation. They don't introduce any extractables, which guarantees that the taste and crystal clear visual clarity of your beer, wine, or soft drinks make it flawlessly from the vat directly into the bottle. It is all about preserving the exact, perfect profile the brewmaster or food scientist originally intended.
And finally, in process water applications, PES membranes step up as the ultimate final safeguard. Think about high-purity water systems, electronics manufacturing, or lab environments. Removing fine particulate contamination and microorganisms before those critical production processes begin is an absolute must. PES filters are right there at the very end of the line, making absolutely sure those incredibly strict purity standards are met.
Which brings us to Section 4, the role of pre-filtration. I always like to think of pre-filtration as the bouncer at the door of an exclusive club. You definitely don't want to send raw liquid straight into a highly sensitive PES membrane. First, the fluid enters the system and passes through a depth or pleated pre-filter just to catch all those large suspended solids. Only after that does the clarified liquid actually reach the PES membrane for its final, sterile filtration. Setting it up in stages like this prevents the membrane from choking, drastically cuts down your operating costs, and stops you from having to change out cartridges prematurely.
Okay, let's pivot to Section 5, Comparing Membrane Materials.
When you're weighing your procurement options, you've really got to match the material to your exact conditions. For instance, PTFE, that's your absolute heavyweight for aggressive chemicals, strong acids, or gases. PVDF is great for handling broad chemical compatibility needs. But for sterile, aqueous solutions, beverages, and purified water, PES is hands down your dedicated optimal choice. If you're dealing with water-based liquids, PES is exactly where you want to be.
So, once you've looked at the data and you've decided, okay, PES is the right material for our facility, how do you actually go about selecting the perfect cartridge configuration?
That takes us right into our final section, Section 6, Essential Selection Criteria.
Your very first major decision is the micron rating. To put this into a relatable perspective, a single human hair is about 70 micrometers thick. Sherpor PES cartridges operate in a totally microscopic realm, between 0.1 and 1.0 micrometers. This lets you target microbiological removal with absolute tailored precision. Honestly, getting this rating right is the single most important factor for balancing process performance with a really long cartridge life.
But it doesn't stop at micron size. Process engineers have to dial in some very specific operating conditions. You've got to account for your operating temperature and your required flow rates, right alongside your differential pressure limits. Pair all of that with your system-specific sterilization protocols, whether that's steam or autoclaving, and factor in your required service life. If you map all those out, you can lock in a setup that totally minimizes downtime and maximizes your overall production efficiency.
And of course, when product quality is on the line, quality assurance is just completely non-negotiable. Top-tier options like Sherpor offer 100% integrity-tested construction and individual traceability. From FDA food contact compliance to USP Class V materials, this is really the baseline level of confidence you need for critical applications. They provide validated bacterial retention, and yep, they are fully steam sterilizable and autoclavable, the whole shebang.
So I want to leave you with this thought. Take a really hard look at your own operations today. Are you losing valuable product? Are you struggling with incredibly slow startups or just wasting time on suboptimal filtration? Upgrading to a highly efficient PES membrane might just be the exact, precise engineering solution you need to turn things around. Because remember, the right filter doesn't just clean your product, it optimizes your entire production line.